Hey folks, welcome back to Chaotic TV. We are in Game 3 of one of the matches in Group D of Dreamhack Winter 2012. In the top left you see the blue Zerg playing for the blue team Liquid Rhett.
And this being Rhett's map choice, he chose Ohana. Spawning on the bottom right side of the map, we have DHW Thorzain as the red Terran player.
Very impressive mech play coming out of Thorzain in the last game. I think he might have been thrown off in that first game, having his bunker rush shut down. He just couldn't get his economy up to snuff quick enough. He did have those 3 command centers chunking out and saturating all his bases, but he just didn't have the right composition for when Rhett came a-knocking with that huge roach drop. But in this last game, he did great.
Yeah, it really was night and day. Let's just see how much these players practice these polished type econ build orders. We saw Thorzain have to improvise a little bit with his 11-12 racks and setting the game forward later. It didn't seem to have the proper infrastructure and just not the right unit counts and unit composition to deal with the Zerg army.
Yeah, on Ohana, mech is actually a pretty favorite build because even though there are 3 bases, they kind of converge over a semi-walkable distance between these 2 ramps from the natural and the 4th base, and you can wall off pretty easily.
Yeah, it's really easy for a Terran player to take just their little bottom type half of the map, and even if necessary, the 5th, yeah, that would be the 5th base. With the planetary fortress, that's just pretty easy for them to hold as well.
Rhett doing some SCV damage to this natural building SCV, and with a drone, and pretty same play we saw last game. We haven't seen any early gases except out of Thorzain, but that's also going to lead towards those reactor Hellions, and we'll see basically the same setup we have. I'm not a big fan of a lot of reactor Hellions on this map. If you're going for the natural, it's fine, but this ramp up to the main is just too choked off that you can't get a whole bunch of them up there very quickly.
The primary reason to go reactor Hellions in this early type build is to deny the creep spread, which we didn't really see a whole lot of until the Raven came out last game, but I guess we'll see if that changes any in this map, the different architecture here.
When this command center goes up, I would love to see 2 more gases dropped and for Thorzain to go for that drop Hellion play, which would be very effective in the main with this huge open area for him to kite around and just blow up all the drones he can to his merry heart's content.
Yeah, Rhett really sticking to his guns here. We don't see any gas coming from him. Likely see a couple more queens start after these 2 queens come out. That'll just get the creep spread started, and that'll help him out immensely. Also maybe even get those queens to start working on those rocks between this natural and the 3rd. I don't know. I haven't actually seen Rhett play on this map.
Most definitely. The 2 extra queens up front get you your 3rd queen ready and can leave you with 1 creep spread queen, while you've already spread enough tumors out to pretty much cover the entire map, or 3 maps worth of creep if they're not molested. But we do see the factory coming down and reactor as well. So the same build we do have a bunker, and we're going to have a little block off of the supply depot, I believe all the way through here.
Yeah, the 6th queen opening that we sometimes see was made directly to counter the reactor Hellions denial of creep spread. With 6 fast queens, you can get the creep spread out before they can get the Hellions up to below the ramp. So you can, once you get your creep up below that ramp, they can't do anything with the Hellions anymore.
We see a 3rd coming down for Rhett. And we also see the 2 gases at the natural again, just in case Thorzain does some early scouting. But we see 2 barracks coming down instead of 2 extra factories. So we may see a more siege marine type of play. And we do indeed have the supply depot wall connecting the ramp to the natural CC. We don't see a 3rd one like we saw in the 2nd game, or sorry, excuse me, in the 1st game, to help in saturation. I believe he'll just do some pressure and build behind it. Right now we see the Stimpack and heavy terrain or infantry level weapons level 1, and Zergling speed coming out of Rhett, as well as Roach Warren.
Good job. Yeah, he's going to go into some really heavy Marine tank play here. As soon as Stim is done and possibly combat shields, he'll swap that factory to the tech lab and the barracks into the reactor. He'll just be able to make 6 Marines at once with 3 reactor barracks, as well as start making siege tanks along with it. Oh, you're seeing dropping a starport on that instead. That's also a really good choice. Get those medevacs out faster.
Oh, indeed. I mean, we will definitely probably see some drop play with the huge cliff wall here, but it is well scouted already by overlords, and Rhett will be losing this overlord. Yeah,
Thorzain is actually pretty well known for some really good drop type play. This is one of the first European Terrans to really adopt the high multitasking type play that you see out of the Korean scene for forever.
He is pretty what am I looking for? Pretty successful foreigner player, and recently moving to EG from Mouse Sports and living in America now, as opposed to Mouse Sports, which I think was still in Sweden.
Yeah, they're a European team.
And he's not going to spread those creeps while the Hellions are there. But the wall off is pretty darn tootin' right here for Rhett. That's not the phrase I was looking for, but we'll go with it anyway. And we see some banelings coming down for Rhett, so he is going for the Zerg Bane early opener with some roaches to back it up until he gets into the higher tech, which I think he'll probably try to take a 4th before he actually goes for the higher tech beyond layer.
Something you don't expect to see out of a player like Rhett. His man and natural are slightly oversaturated when he has a 3rd base available. That's a little bit of a surprise to me.
Oh, you do have a point. He did lose 2 queens there, so he's going to have to rebuild those, but a ton of Zerglings coming out right now, as well as Baneling speed, and 1-1 for melee Carapace is about to finish, as well as 2 more Banelings coming out. We see Combat Shield coming out for Thorzain, and at least a single Marauder, as well as the reinforcements just streaming across the map, so he's going to continue this early pressure, and Rhett's lack of supply right now is really hurting him.
Yeah, we're going to see him cower and hide back until he can get as many units out as possible, and possibly even wait for that centrifugal hooks upgrade to engage this heavy Marine army.
Well, without fungals, although he is building an infestation pit, he won't have fungals until he finishes that upgrade or gets enough infestors out to start building that energy. So he will definitely need the centrifugal hooks to do any kind of damage against Thorzain's very decent micro, excuse me.
We do see him cleaning up the creep a little bit here. That's going to help him a bunch, because it's really hard to avoid banelings on creep. I mean, it's possible. We've seen players like Green King do it, but yeah, he has really good Marine splitting.
And Rhett's going to lose 12 of these 15 Zerglings who came in for an attack at the 3rd base, but there was no 3rd base to attack. Thorzain doing all of this immediate pressure off of 2 bases and doing it extremely well, having hit 129 before Thorzain has even hit 120.
That wasn't completely useless. He is using a bunch of this medevac energy to heal up that stim when he sent the entire army to chase him out. At the same time, he is preparing to do a drop, or he was, until he realized his units were still healing.
We do indeed see a 4th coming down out of Rhett, which he kind of needs to get back into this game, but we do also see a drop coming out of Thorzain. Burrow, ventral pathogen gland, for his infestors, and 2/2 melee and carapace coming from Liquid Rhett.
Pathogen glands are just about to hit the point where you can make infestors and have them spawn with enough energy. Just passed a few seconds ago. So we're not seeing him in a rush to get them out. Instead, he wants to get enough banelings on the map to deal with how many Marines we're seeing. We see a little skirmish here.
Rhett
just
choosing to commit again.
Completely out of position. He's losing so many of his units. I think he... Oh, look at that. Thorzain just did him a favor and ran some Hellions into some dying banelings.
Yep, but he's also taking out this 4th base, and I think he'll be able to get it. Oh no, he pulls back at the very last second and loads up and is about to run away.
Yeah, and no infestors here. That just drop play is going to be completely devastating. This is why a lot of times you see Zerg players, especially early on in StarCraft 2's life, I guess you could say, they would favor the Mutalist play just to shut down the drops. Since then, players have gotten so much better against defending against that kind of stuff with just spine crawlers spore crawlers sometimes, and just having infestors and the few zerglings and banelings where they need to be.
Thorzain now moving in on this 4th base. When he did that drop, he dropped an extra couple of Marines just to bait some banelings out until they were all moved away. But a big surround on a couple of these units, and the siege tank will be lost. But this huge splitting by Thorzain, you see that? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Although he will be cleaned up, it is a pretty even trade right now, resources-wise. But Rhett coming in with a little bit more of the resources or supply at the end of that match.
Yeah, an even trade in any sense of the word really means a win for the Zerg player. That's just the way the race is made to be used with the one-time use type family unit.
And Rhett taking map control again, cleaning up some of these mis-rallied reinforcements, and even taking on this pretty decent group of Marines. But he's got a huge amount, and Thorzain moving out with those Marines will be completely surrounded and picked up. Good micro choice on that Thorzain's part, but this 3rd base is in deep trouble. Coming from all of these Zerglings, they run right past. A big hit from the siege tank on those Zerglings, and Marines are going to clean it up and take out these destructible rocks so they can reinforce that 3rd much easier than you just saw.
Yeah, siege tanks on the high ground are really good.
I believe that is the ideal position for them. We don't see the 4th being saturated yet, but these gases are already up and ready to have harvesters put in them. They already have harvesters selected for them. At least one of them does.
Here we see Red going into Ultralisk Tech. I haven't seen this very much lately out of pro players. This is a good map for it. It's relatively wide open, other than the choke points right in front of the bases. So any kind of engage on the map will be really good for these Ultralisks.
We see 12 banelings coming in right now just to recuperate his forces. The ever so important adrenal glands, as well as 3/3 melee and ground carapace, and Terran infantry armor level 3, as well as weapons level 2 for vehicles, and a 5th base coming down out of Red.
Looking at Thorzain, his economy and his supply, I think he needs another factory and a couple more barracks if he wants to keep up on his production. That being said, here comes a huge attack from the Zerg player.
Wow, that is quite a large attack, and some big fungals going off on these workers, and Thorzain is going to lose a huge amount of economy. 20 SCVs
on the
lost.
Marine. He's going to just keep the fungals down so he can run a few infestors that are still there away, and he's going to burrow them and run away even further.
Hatchery cancel on the fifth base of Liquid Ret by Thorzain, and he may just pick up and lift into the main. Ultra's already there waiting for them, as well as a Spore Crawler and a Spine Crawler. So we'll see this get shut down relatively easily.
That one high-ground tank has 22 kills on it, so it really did work up there. As well as another one that was down behind it had 9. I think that if we would have seen, like I said, one more factory producing siege tanks, that attack would have been completely ineffective.
And we're just going to see a fungal put down on this medevac if it tries to run away. These Ultralisks are just cleaning up everything. Ooh, fungal put down on the running away medevac, so it can't do anything else. And Liquid Red has taken a pretty decent lead with 4 bases and only 1.5. Well, I can't say that. A great many of the mineral patches of Thorzain are about to be mined out, and Liquid Red is mining right now off of 4 bases pretty handily.
Yeah, well, this is going to be a really hard game for Thorzain to come back from the kind of supply deficit he's at right now, as well as the tech. I mean, the Zerg has the tech more or less finished. Even has the extra Ultralisk armor upgrade. I forget what it's called.
Chitinous plating.
That'll work.
Yeah. We see some infestors denying the building of another barracks, and all these Ultras are running in. There's not enough tanks to take them out. Some very targeted fire on these infestors, and these Ultralisks are just tearing through everything else.
Just doesn't really have the proper units to deal with Ultralisks.
Ultralisks aren't that great against buildings, though. At least not when they're being just walking around like that. And Thorzain kind of falling into Rhett's clutches, literally, as he walked all his units out to be semi-surrounded and just take out a huge number of Thorzain's forces with only one Ultralisk
Here
being
comes
taken out
Queen's
right now.
to
Queen's coming in
transfuse
to
from time.
transfuse. And
This
looks
time
like
it's just far too
Thorzain's
strong
going to
for
be done
Thorzain to
here.
deal with. He needed a lot more Marauders and more Siege Tanks to deal with those Ultralisks.
Ooh, a lucky Ultralisk who's going to prolong his life with 2, 3, 4 transfusions on, and all these Queens are doing their best to take out these very empty energy metabags. One more Ultralisk falls, but I think with the 70 supply difference between Thorzain and Liquid Ret, that Ret is in fine sitting right now. But that was a good game, well played from Thorzain, and Ret, takes the third game of Group D Dreamhack Winter 2012. I'm Chaotic.
This is Eclipse.
And we say goodnight to you. Hope you enjoyed watching the game. Keep sending that feedback in. Cheers.